Part 150. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu. Chapter 1491. Taken together, such a warship can accommodate a combat unit of hundreds of people. Fang Fan glanced around on this god and devil battleship. Although it looked small, it was still a two-layer cannon. Generally, warships are equipped with divine crystal cannons or star core cannons. As the name suggests, it is a cannonball that uses the god crystal and star core as energy. 9 108mm star nuclear cannons on the left and right sides, and 180mm star nuclear cannons at the front and rear ends. There are 20 star nuclear cannons on the first floor, and 40 star nuclear cannons on the second floor. Basically, even if this god and devil battleship is clearly arranged, basically there is no vacancy. Fang Fan glanced around, then murmured. Taken together, this is the case. System, since this god and devil battleship is a growth-type sacred weapon, how can I upgrade it? Fang Fan narrowed his eyes, looking curious. There is a high probability that a 1-star sacred warship can only exert 1-star sanctuary combat power, but what if it can be upgraded to a 9-star sanctuary and a 10-star sanctuary? Does it mean that he will be able to have an extra high-level sanctuary-level combat power under his command? Fang Fan thought to himself, feeling that this possibility still exists. The key lies in whether he dares to think about it. Ding! 1-star holy artifact level god and devil warships need 1 million star cores, 1 million strands of faith power, 10,000 strands of god source power, and 10,000 tons of 1-star holy level refining material. Fang Fan's mouth twitched involuntarily when a system notification sound came from his ear. That's it? 1 million star cores at every turn? Who can stand this? Don't say that the star core can't be taken out. Even if it can be taken out, there is still the threshold of 10,000 traces of God's source power. Fang Fan exhaled, feeling dizzy inexplicably. There is even a feeling of tingling in the scalp, which is very real. From now on, this will be my means of transportation. Although it's small, it's powerful enough. Unexpectedly, it may be able to severely injure ordinary 1-star sanctuary realm practitioners. Fang Fan thought to himself, and then patted the battleship. The whole body is silver and white, the style is quite high, and the appearance is not bad. What a domineering battleship! Sikong Yuxin walked over from a distance, and when he saw the warship of gods and demons, there was a look of surprise in his beautiful eyes. You still understand this? Fang Fan glanced at Sikong Yuxin, somewhat surprised. In Fang Fan's impression, Sikong Yuxin was a pampered goddess before, but he didn't expect to do research on the battleship. Who do you look down on? I'm a quasi-sage refiner. These warships are actually crafted by craftsmen. Sikong Yuxin said arrogantly. Fang Fan was taken aback for a moment. Quasi-sage refiner? This level is not too low. A quasi-holy level weapon refiner, that shows that he has the ability to refine quasi-holy level weapons. Corresponding to warships, it is possible to refine giant warships. Uxin, if you are asked to build this kind of warship, will it succeed? With the thought of Fang Fan, the general state of the human race is low at the moment. It would be great if we could reserve more warships. I'm just a quasi-holy level craftsman, not a holy level craftsman. Sikong Yuxin quickly waved his hands to express his meaning. Although this silver-white battleship looks like it's only 1-star sanctuary level, but both the material and the workmanship are top-notch, and it has the potential to be upgraded. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu. Chapter 1492. Sikong Yuxin stepped forward, full of praise for the battleship of gods and demons. The value of this kind of warship with upgrade potential is 100 times that of an ordinary warship of the same level. As Sikong Yuxin spoke, the look of surprise in his eyes increased. Fang Fan smiled slightly, so it looks like he made a fortune in blood. In addition to this holy weapon card, there is also a holy blood card. I don't know what level of bloodlines can be opened with this holy bloodline card. If I didn't already have the blood of Azura, I really want to try it. If this holy bloodline card is used directly by me, although it can improve the purity of Azura's bloodline a little bit, it is not enough to upgrade, and it seems too wasteful. As soon as Fang Fan thought of this, his eyes became more and more silent, and some other thoughts flickered in his mind at this moment. Huanggan Patriarch. Fang Fan's eyes turned to Huanggan, the patriarch of the Huang clan, although they hadn't known each other for a long time, but Huanggan's loyalty was unquestionable, and the will to fight bravely and champion the three armies shown in several battles was also very real. From Fang Fan's point of view, he was able to establish the current situation, and Huanggan's contribution is indispensable. In addition, Huanggan is also one of the top 10 servant gods under his command. To some extent, his strength also means Fang Fan's own strength. Such thoughts churned in his mind, which made Fang Fan's mouth smile a little more silently. You use this holy bloodline card. Maybe, there is still a chance to activate your ancestral bloodline. Fang Fan muttered to himself, with a look of anticipation on his face. Holy level. My lord, you are incompetent, don't dare to waste treasure. Huanggan's body trembled slightly. Although he didn't know exactly what the specific effect of this bloodline card was, since they were all at the holy level, it must not be a mortal thing. From the perspective of Huanggan, I have some concerns in my heart. In his opinion, accepting the favor of the Lord is enough, but the effect of the combat power he exerted is very limited, and there is more or less such anxiety in his heart. Who dares to say that you are incompetent? You are the first cultivator in the sanctuary realm under my command. You have been fighting with me these days, and you have never been afraid of fighting. Under your full attack, we repelled the enemy's attacks several times. These are all thanks to you. If you are incompetent, then I, Fang Fan, am I worthless? Fang Fan smiled and made a casual joke. My lord, Langan doesn't mean that, please forgive me, my lord. Huanggan suddenly knelt down on the ground, with a sincere and fearful expression. While talking, there was a hint of fear in his eyes. As far as Huanggan is concerned, Fang Fan is not only his master, but also the great Huang god of the Huang clan. As long as he did something that blasphemed the crown of the Rage God, he should be fully sanctioned. Such thoughts churned in his mind, making Huanggan's head lower. Fang Fan was stunned. Just a joke. Patriarch Huanggan, please stand up, you are innocent. It's me who can't choose what to say. This holy bloodline card is what you deserve. Hurry up and use it, I really want to see what kind of blood you can inspire. Fang Fan narrowed his eyes, and the curiosity on his face became more and more intense. Obey, my lord, thank you, my lord. Huanggan quickly took the order, holding the holy bloodline card in his hand, looking extremely important. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 1493. Use. Huanggan snorted secretly, his eyes gradually became sharper. Ding. Use a holy bloodline card to activate the bloodline of the undead emperor of the underworld. Bloodline of the immortal underworld emperor, holy class. Bloodline characteristic 1, immortality. As long as there is a drop of blood and a trace of soul, you can bring the dead back to life. The self-recovery ability is very strong. Mental support is required to perform it. Bloodline characteristic 2, nether power. After casting, the mental attack power will increase by 10 times for a short time. Spiritual support is required for casting. Undead Hades bloodline, a total of 2 bloodline characteristics. But they are all very strong. The first bloodline characteristic, immortality, basically means that you can't die. As long as there is a trace of soul or a drop of blood left, you can be resurrected, and the recovery ability is also extremely powerful. The second bloodline characteristic, ghost power, is mainly aimed at the growth of mental attack power. For some practitioners who major in spiritual power, it can be called a magical skill. Holy bloodlines are so strong. Undead Underworld Emperor. Interesting. Fang Fan secretly squinted his eyes, and there were flashes of light in his eyes, and a faint smile gradually appeared on the corner of his mouth at this moment. How does it feel? Fang Fan looked at Huang Gan and said with a smile. This subordinate feels that there is endless vitality in his body. Thank you, Lord. Huang Gan knelt down on one knee, with sincere eyes, and then under Fang Fan's gaze, he cut a wound on his left arm. The wound on the index finger healed in a few seconds. This terrifying self-healing ability is invincible. Very good. From today onwards, Huang Gan will be appointed as the deputy commander of the Human Emperor's Legion. Assist me in taking charge of the Human Emperor's Legion. The Emperor's Legion is gradually expanding to 100,000. We welcome the elites of the desolate race to join us. Fang Fan smiled silently, stepped forward, and helped Huang Gan up, with a smile on his face. To some extent, the Emperor's Legion can be regarded as the most direct legion under Fang Fan's command. The status is equal to the top 10 legions under his command. The word Human Emperor has shown Fang Fan's infinite expectations for the Human Emperor's Legion. Fang Fan even personally served as the commander of the Emperor's Legion, in order to firmly control it. Huang Gan's role as the deputy commander of the Emperor's Legion and the deputy commander of the Legion is also a kind of trust in him. Thank you, Master, for cultivating. This subordinate will not hesitate to die. Huang Gan knelt down on one knee, but his spine stood straight instantly. His eyes were full of solemnity, obviously he was distracted. I hope you live up to expectations. The Emperor's Legion consists of 10 battle groups. Each battle group has a battle group leader. Each battle group leader commands 10,000 troops. The leader of the first battle group of the Emperor's Legion is Huang Shi. Human Emperor's Legion's 2nd Battle Regiment is headed by Huang Shan. The leader of the 3rd battle group of the Emperor's Legion is Zhou Kaishan. The commanders of the remaining 7 major regiments will be screened by the deputy commander of the Huanggan army. Fang Fan raised his head silently, and immediately set the benchmark for the Emperor's Legion. The Emperor's Legion must be the purest. At present, Fang Fan of the human race and the desolate race is naturally extremely trustworthy. In addition, the earliest and most Fang Fanyi human race is also trustworthy. As for the cultivators from the Meteor race and the Brahma clan mixed in the Warrior Slaves Legion, they are all doomed to be warrior slaves before they have been tempered by time. Now the Emperor's Legion is gradually expanding, although the establishment has been improved, their respective combat effectiveness is still far behind. Fang Fan muttered to himself and began to think. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 1494. This is a very realistic thing. After all, the development time of the human race is still too short. And Fang Fan hoped that the Human Emperor's Legion would be more deficient than excessive, so he recruited soldiers from the human race or the desolate race as much as possible. However, Fang Fan now has only 30,000 members of the Huang clan under Fang Fan's command, and less than 10,000 of them are elite, young and strong, so relatively speaking, the difference is quite large. If you want to quickly improve the realm of the Emperor's Legion and even the entire human race, it is not enough to supply the relevant star core pills. What the human race lacks is time. If the human race can develop for hundreds of thousands of years, it will definitely be able to catch up with the progress of other races. As far as the current situation is concerned, judging from the situation of all major races, the cultivation speed of the human race is already the fastest. After all, it has not been too long since the last days of the human race plague broke out. Fang Fan murmured, his eyes flickered, and such thoughts churned in his mind, making Fang Fan's eyes sharper. Lack of time, create time. Chu Tian Pavilion. The flow of time in the small world of Shushan Pavilion is 10 times faster than that in the big world. 10 days of cultivation in it, and only 1 day in the outside world. Compared to the whole, wouldn't this increase the speed of cultivation by 10 times? Fang Fan thought to himself, his eyes gradually brightened. At that time, you can also consume some creation points or the power of faith to build a gathering spirit circle in Shushan Pavilion to increase the speed of cultivation, which will be excellent. Fang Fan thought in his heart, and the smiles on his face became more and more. He suddenly discovered that if such ideas can really be realized, the benefits they can bring are too great. Not only against the human emperor's legion, but also against the entire human emperor's palace, the entire human race. Starting from today, the emperor's legion is dispatched as a whole to enter the emperor's training base for cultivation. Cultivating in the human emperor's training base, the training speed of all practitioners will be increased by 10 times. This benefit is not only available to the Emperor's Legion. The elite soldiers of other major legions and believers in the Temple of the Rage God will also enjoy this benefit first. The human Emperor's palace will be in our hands and gradually become stronger. The corners of Fang Fan's mouth were slightly raised, and there were gleams of light in his eyes. Such thoughts were churning in his mind, which had completely shocked everyone. Everyone present in human Emperor's palace was stunned. Cultivation speed increased by 10 times. It used to take a year to advance to the cultivation level, but now it only takes more than a month. This is simply a fantasy. But these words came from the mouth of the great Hall Master Fang Fan of the human Emperor's Hall. Will Master Fang Fan not deceive them? Joining the human sovereign legion, you will definitely be able to enter this mysterious human sovereign training base to practice. Don't try to stop me. I want to join the human sovereign legion. Not just the human sovereign legion, although I am a soldier of the Holy Heaven Legion, as long as I perform well enough, I have a chance. The same goes for our Wing Teng Legion. Our Temple Guardian Legion is not willing to be inferior. Fight for the Palace Master. Our Slaves Legion, have this chance. In the crowd, there was a cowardly voice. Fang Fan looked away, and saw Patriarch Bai Sha, the head of the Zanu Legion, and the 2 deputy head Brahma and Fu Tujian looking at him eagerly. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 1495. Fang Fan was stunned for a moment. He really didn't think about the Slaves Legion just now. This is really not deliberate. It can only be said that the status of the slave army in Fang Fan's heart is indeed not very high. Even if the War Slave Legion is the most powerful of all the legions under his command at this moment, it is difficult to conceal this fact. The source of soldiers for the Warrior Slave Legion mainly comes from the Deity Slayer Society, the Brahma clan, and the Meteor clan in Wailing Canyon. At the beginning, these 3 forces jointly attacked the Desolate clan and wanted to seize the treasure, but they were finally defeated by Fang Fan one by one, and finally subdued. It is very connotative to organize it as a slave army. However, in these few wars, the performance of the War Slave Legion is really good. They dare to fight and fight to the end, and their willpower is very strong. Fang Fan also promised before that those who made great military achievements in the slave army may be able to wash away their sins. Slaves Legion, those who are brave in battle can enter the Emperor's training base to practice. Fang Fan raised his head silently, then nodded and said, It is of course impossible to let the horse run without letting the horse eat grass. Even if it is the slaves' legion, they should be given some hope. Thank you, Lord. I am willing to fight to the death for my Lord. I am willing to fight to the end for the emperor's palace. The slaves' legion resounded in unison, and the most excited ones were the chief of the slaves' legion, Patriarch Baisha, and the two deputy chiefs, Fantianchi and Futujian. In a legion, the supreme commander of the legion can be called the commander, or the head of the legion, which is not the only thing. Fang Fan glanced around in the distance, inspected several major legions under his command, and then directly entered the world of Chu Tian Pavilion. The Renhuang training base has been promised, but it has not been established until now. The address is naturally Shushan Pavilion, using the time flow rate of Shushan Pavilion to increase the speed of cultivation. In fact, to put it bluntly, it is to take advantage of a loophole in the law. To a certain extent, the training time has not changed, but as long as one is practicing in Shushan Pavilion, 1 month has passed outside, and the practitioners inside have been practicing for 10 months. First use the creation point to build a spirit gathering formation, then put an extra Joy Star Core God crystal on the spirit gathering formation to provide energy. This makes the surrounding area the place with the most aura. In the world of Shushan Pavilion, I can do whatever I want. It's not a big problem, I just don't know if there are more people who enter it to practice. Can these Star Core God crystals hold it? After all, it's not 1 or 2 people, nor hundreds of people, but hundreds of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of millions of people. Fang Fan frowned secretly. Fortunately, the world of Shushan Pavilion has undergone a series of expansions, and it is enough to accommodate it. This is the only way to maintain the prosperity of the human race and the human emperor's palace. Fortunately, with the captives of Haoshan Pavilion now, the star crystal mine can also be mined. Once the star crystal mine is mined, the mined star core can be used to support the cultivation of the cultivators of the emperor's palace. However, it's not good to just sit and eat like this, open source and reduce expenditure. The most important thing is to open source. Just relying on the star crystal mine is still too slow. If you can start from the outside. Fang Fan silently flashed a sharp light in his eyes. In fact, sometimes a war can destroy a race, and it can also make a race rise. It depends on how to grasp it. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 1496. Outside the Yaora Galaxy, and even outside the Chentian star field, there are countless ore stars. These ore stars are also called resource planes. As the name suggests, there are various resources in them. If you can control these resources, you will naturally gain a lot of benefits. But first step to step out. What kind of development can there be if we blindly stagnate in a place like the Sun Galaxy? Thinking of this, the corners of Fang Fan's mouth also rose silently. Pioneering out is inevitable, but not now. He still doesn't know what's going on in the Haoshan Pavilion, so he needs to stay and protect the human race. A few days later, Qingtian Sanctuary, Haoshan Pavilion. Hao Yun stumbled into the main hall, walking all the way, the look in his eyes was dim. Judging from the overall image, it doesn't look like the son of the master of the Haoshan Pavilion, but rather a beggar begging along the street. Running back this way is too difficult. Hao Yun's lips trembled and he almost cried. Along the way, there were many star thieves, and the guards around him had long been beheaded, and only he survived by luck. It wasn't until he set foot on the land of Qingtian Sanctuary, until he came to the boundary of Haoshan Pavilion, that he was slightly relieved. But at this time, an accident was also discovered, because no one believed his identity. he was almost taken over by the pot again, and he almost died directly. Touching the cold wall of the great hall of Haoshan Pavilion at this moment, Haoun's heart became slightly warmer. Looking at the majestic presence on the high seat, Hao Yun felt less disgusted and more kind. That was his father Hahang, the master of the Haoshan Pavilion. Although this person has always looked down on him, and even belittled him for a while, this is his only support at the moment. He felt that kind of blood relationship. This time it is the warmest harbor. With this thought in mind, Hao Yun couldn't bear it any longer, and rushed over directly. The speed seemed extremely fast. "Father! Father! Father!" He yelled at his father 3 times in a row, and the excitement beyond words was obvious. 2 lines of clear tears were left on Hao's face, and the snot flowed into his mouth along the corner of his mouth. This posture was the same as those of those bear children who were beaten outside. They wanted to seek some comfort from their parents, and then I hope that my parents will take action for myself and avenge myself. Such thoughts are too real. Hao Yun saw that he was about to get close to the mighty man on the high seat, and he felt that he was about to enter this warm embrace that made people feel safe. Snapped. A loud slap sounded, and Hao Yun was instantly stunned. He held his blushing cheeks, and the tears on his face stopped abruptly. Why, is this so? He escaped and came back after going through countless dangers, and now this is it? Is that how he was treated? His heart gradually became cold, his eyes gradually became cold, and his body gradually began to tremble. His trembling and cold posture made him instantly insane. "Father! What are you doing?" Hao Yun stubbornly raised his head, clenched his fists, and stared at the mighty man in front of him. He was very unwilling. Why treat him like this? What he needs now is comfort. Waste. Snapped. Another slap came, and what came at the same time was the merciless kick of this mighty middle-aged man. With one kick, Hao Yun's body directly formed a parabola in the air, and then fell firmly. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 1497. Boom. Hao Yun faced the ground, and there was a wave of friendly contact between his face and the ground, and his face was instantly soaked in blood. He turned his head and looked at the existence on the high seat with a puzzled face. He didn't quite understand why he was treated like this. What about the feeling of blood and family affection he felt just now? Are these all fake? Is everything a joke? No. Absolutely not. Hao Yun trembled his lips. He wanted an explanation. Waste. I have lost all faith in Haoshan Pavilion. As a member of the Haoshan Pavilion, he was ambushed in a low-level galaxy, and the entire army was wiped out. This time, I, Haoshan Pavilion, have become the joke of the entire Qingtian sanctuary because of you. Why didn't Wu Peng come back with you? How did you become like this? Hahang, the master of the Haoshan Pavilion on the high seat, was talking, with cold rays of light in his eyes, and endless resentment revealed in his words. This will to hate iron but not steel is extremely real. Father, the great protector Wu Peng is greedy for meritorious service, and the whole army is defeated. Hao Yun gritted his teeth. Although he suffered endless humiliation at the moment, he knew that he had to endure it. In front of this person in front of him, he is nothing. Son. Blood relationship? In this person's eyes, I'm afraid he didn't care at all. Otherwise, why would you be so sarcastic to him? Coming up is just 2 big ear scrapers and 1 kick? Anyway, he didn't feel the slightest so-called family affection. Yes, they are full of disappointment. The whole army was defeated. Waste. What about Wu Peng? Tell him to come back and die. Hao Hong, the owner of the Haoshan Pavilion, was stunned for a moment, and then a look of rage appeared on his face. This is a slap in the face without any scruples. One slap in the face is fine, but another slap. Does this still put him in the eyes? Can this be tolerated? How can I endure it without peeling it off? Hahang, the owner of the Haoshan pavilion, thought this way in his heart, and the expression of anger on his face grew more and more. Father, he is dead. He was beheaded by a human cultivator. I have already reminded him that the human race is extraordinary and cannot be greedy for meritorious deeds, but he insists on accepting your order and insists on killing him. I can't stop him. Hao Yun straightened her waist, her gaze gradually became cold. After experiencing so much, his temperament has changed a lot. If it was in the past, I'm afraid he would just kneel down on the ground regardless of the situation. It's not like now, dare to continue to fight a few times. The whole army is defeated, why don't you die? Hao Hong, the owner of the Haoshan pavilion, said coldly, his gaze was very indifferent. Hao Yun's body trembled slightly, is this his father? The unrivaled hero in his mind? Now he can be sure that the so-called family affection he felt before was all bullshit. In other words, there is no such feeling at all, it is all my own prediction error. Assemble the elite of Haoshan pavilion. Follow me to flatten this human plane. How can I, Haoshan pavilion, suffer such an insult? I don't believe it anymore. A small force in a small galaxy dares to touch the reverse scale of my Haoshan pavilion. Hahang, the owner of the Haoshan pavilion, let out a cold shout, and the audience gradually fell into silence, and everyone's eyes also lowered. Pavilion Master, don't you think everything is too strange? Do you really believe that a force in a weak galaxy can kill the great guardian Wu Peng? Could it be some conspiracy of our old opponents? Or, it was deliberately targeted at our Haoshan pavilion? After all, the War of Gods is about to start. Divine system of the strongest card supplier in the end times, Doomsday strongest card supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 1498. In the main hall, a man wearing a red mink fur coat came out. He was quite handsome and his skin was fairer than that of a woman. He held a feather fan in his hand and shook it slightly. On the whole, it seems to be quite weak, but if anyone dares to offend him, it will be regarded as a real death. What Shaoqing means is, Hao Hong, the owner of the Haoshan pavilion, was stunned for a moment, and then a flash of light flashed in his eyes. He's just a little grumpy, but he's not stupid, and he figured out the joints in an instant. If it's really what he imagined, then this matter will be extraordinary. A conspiracy against Haoshan pavilion. I shudder to think of it. The red sable man nodded secretly, and then continued, I do have concerns about this. Although Wu Peng only has a 3-star sanctuary, this kind of cultivation can easily destroy a third-rank force. A small galaxy, how can the level of influence exceed the 3rd level? On the whole, there is only one possibility. This matter is a conspiracy from beginning to end. From the time Master Haoun knew that there were some precious ore veins in that small place, until now, it's all in their calculations. If this is the case, the planner's scheming is too deep. This is to nibble away our Haoshan pavilion bit by bit. If I'm not mistaken, if the pavilion master sets out this time, he will definitely be attacked halfway. If the pavilion master takes away the main force of Haoshan pavilion, the existence behind it may even directly attack my base camp. Give me Haoshan pavilion a fatal blow. After the red mink man finished speaking, the whole hall fell silent. I don't know what's going on. It's creepy to listen to. Hahang, the owner of Haoshan pavilion, also fell silent for a moment. He is not stupid, there are indeed too many tricks in it. Not to mention anything else, how could a small force in a small galaxy have the guts to threaten their Haoshan pavilion? Even, have the ability to defeat their army of elite practitioners? It all sounds like a fantasy. Taken together, it's all too bullshit. If so, it might really be a huge conspiracy. A conspiracy against Haoshan Pavilion. This conspiracy will even be a devastating disaster for Haoshan Pavilion. Haoshan Pavilion is the second-rank force of Qingtian Sanctuary, but there are no forces that are stronger than Haoshan Pavilion. Father, I think, you think too much. As far as I know, there is no deliberate conspiracy in that human plane, they are just a rising force. As for the others, it's absolutely impossible. Of course, such a human plane is not so easy to deal with. At least one priest must be sent to ensure nothing goes wrong. Hao Yun stepped forward and pondered for a while, and then truthfully stated his opinion. On the whole, this is more in line with reality. From his point of view, this matter has gradually come to a foregone conclusion. Shut up. Do you think if it's really a conspiracy, can you see it? They are really insidious enough. They just want to confuse my judgment through your mouth. Send some practitioners to investigate around this human plane. Without my order, you are not allowed to act rashly. The 10,000 years God's war is imminent, it's not surprising that anything can happen at this moment. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 1499. Hao Hong, the owner of the Haoshan Pavilion, said something, then waved his hand to Hao Yu and said, "You can leave now, don't be so sincere in the future, sometimes it is more important to have a few eyes. If this is a conspiracy against me in Haoshan Pavilion, then there is a reason for your entire army to be wiped out. For the sake of bringing back some useful information for me from Haoshan Pavilion, you should stay in Haoshan Pavilion from now on." After Haoshan Pavilion Master Ha Hong finished speaking, he expelled Hao Yun like cleaning up garbage. Hao Yun lowered his head, did not speak, and retreated indifferently. At this moment, the Father's affection in my heart has completely disappeared. To be honest, such an idea is more real in my mind. I'm just one of his hundreds of sons, I'm not the best ones, how can he pay attention? It's ridiculous. The funny thing is that I still want to get into that warm embrace, everything is my whimsy. It's so ridiculous. Hao Yun gritted her teeth, her eyes gradually became cold, her body trembled unnaturally, such thoughts roiled in her mind, her eyes became even darker. At this moment, in the main hall of Haoshan Pavilion, discussions are in full swing, they are all speculating and analyzing the current situation, and there is a feeling that a storm is about to come. The sudden appearance of a human plane brought the entire Haoshan Pavilion into a state of combat readiness earlier. And the culprit who caused all this, Fang Fan, is now devoting himself to the overall construction of the human emperor's palace. The major regiments have also gradually determined their formation, and the cultivators of the human emperor's palace have also begun to enter urgent training. The Emperor's Legion also directly expanded from the original 10,000 to 100,000 within half a month. Less than 10,000 of them are cultivators of the desolate race, and there are thousands of cultivators of the human race, and the rest are all cultivators of the human race. Judging from the average individual combat power, the cultivators of the desolate race are the strongest, and their average combat power can reach the Emperor realm. The second is the cultivator of the winged human race, who can reach the 5-star king level or above in front of him. As for the largest number of human cultivators, there are still many who have never even stepped into the realm of kings, and all of them are urgently cultivating. With the time acceleration buff of Shushan Pavilion, coupled with the comprehensive supply of countless star core crystals and elixir, the cultivation base of the human soldiers in the human emperor's palace is also skyrocketing. Almost every day, thousands of Terran soldiers cross over to King Realm. At this moment, for all the cultivators of the human emperor's hall, it is the greatest honor to be able to enter the human emperor's training base. Apart from the fact that all members of the Human Sovereign Legion can participate, only 10 to 30% of the other major legions can enjoy such benefits. Cultivate in the Human Emperor's training base, 1 day outside, 10 days inside. If you can practice continuously for more than a month, it will be worth a year of hard training. Moreover, the existence of the super-large spirit gathering circle in the Human Emperor's training base makes the aura in it extremely rich to a certain extent. In order to improve the overall combat power of Human Emperor's palace as soon as possible, Fang Fan spared no expense and used the Star Core as energy supply. My lord, most of the nearly 90,000 cultivators in the Human Sovereign Legion have been promoted to the King Realm, and only about 10,000 people are still below the King Realm, but depending on the situation, they can be promoted soon. Besides, Zhou Kaishan's regiment leader has been promoted to the quasi-true King Realm. Huang Gan, the deputy head of the Emperor's Legion, came over to give a comprehensive report. Divine System of the Strongest Card Supplier in the End Times, Doomsday Strongest Card Supplier. Author, Shu Yu. Chapter 1500. Listening to Huang Gan's return, Fang Fan nodded secretly. All in all, everything is developing in a better and better direction. I believe that in time, the human race will be able to adapt to the rise. It's just that Fang Fan was a little surprised that since the last battle with the millions of practitioners in Haoshan Pavilion, there has been no movement since then. According to Fang Fan's speculation, they should be able to return soon and start another full-scale battle. Fang Fan had even prepared for the worst. If he really couldn't beat him, he would have to temporarily move everyone in the Imperial Palace and the entire human race to the world of Shushan Pavilion. After waiting for a long time, the main force of Haoshan Pavilion never arrived. Before Haoshan Pavilion arrived, it attracted some unexpected guests. Father-in-law. Saint Tianhu, Elder Tianying, you are. Fang Fan looked a little stunned at the group of people in front of him. The father-in-law that Fang Fan mentioned was naturally Chen Tianyuan, the patriarch of the Chen Tian clan, who led the elite practitioners of the Chen Tian clan to the human plane. In addition, there are people from the 10,000 Monsters Alliance. In the 10,000 Monsters Alliance, Fang Fan also knows a saint, Tianhu Meyer, and an elder, Tianying, who have dealt with each other before the Chen Tian secret realm. Even after the incident in Chen Tian City was over, the three forces formed an alliance. My son-in-law. I came here this time mainly because I received a summoning order from the envoy of the temple. God battle, it's about to start. Chen Tianyuan, the patriarch of the Chen Tian clan, strode forward. His gaze was extraordinarily deep. From his gaze, Fang Fan could feel that this matter was extraordinary, and even had a far-reaching impact. God War? Battle of the Gods? Fang Fan looked a little confused. I am Nangong Lei, the envoy of the Temple of the Light Alliance. This time, we are recruiting forces of the 5th rank and above in each star field under the command of the Light Camp to fight for the Battle of Gods. The Palace of the Human Emperor has been promoted to a 4th rank force, and is eligible to participate in the Battle of the Gods. Please select the elite army, Hall Master Fang Fan, and go out with the army. A middle-aged man in a red robe stepped out from the crowd, with a dignified expression on his face. Fang Fan frowned silently, feeling more and more baffled. Randomly pull someone over, and ask you to lead the army to participate in some godly battle? Fang Fan subconsciously wanted to refuse, but was pulled back by Chen Tianyuan. My lord, can you give me some time? I want to explain the situation to my son-in-law. Chen Tianyuan said to the middle-aged man in red robe in front of him respectfully. Can. The middle-aged man in the red robe nodded silently, looking very aggressive. After Chen Tianyuan got the approval, he quickly pulled Fang Fan aside. My son-in-law, do you know the light camp and the dark camp? Chen Tianyuan asked directly. Fang Fan nodded silently. There used to be light and dark camps in the Sun Galaxy, it's just that I went to Chen Tian City, I didn't find it. Chen Tianyuan nodded, and then continued, actually, I used to maintain a neutral stance in the Chen Tian starfield, and I have always disliked the battle between the light and dark camps. The Sun galaxy belongs to the Chen Tian starfield. It is normal to have mixed beliefs. Before the Chen Tian starfield was able to uphold neutrality, there is nothing wrong with it, but this time, the situation is bad. The battle between the light camp and the dark camp is too fierce. Our Chen Tian starfield must also follow the team, otherwise, it will be difficult to survive. And the Wanyeo starfield, Disha starfield, Heavenly Sword starfield, etc. around my Chen Tian starfield are all affiliated with the light faction. The Chen Tian starfield is deeply trapped in the light faction's sphere of influence. Now the light faction has announced, our Chen Tian starfield can only belong to the light camp. Now the 10,000-year battle between the light camp and the dark camp has begun. It's time to snatch believers from each other. The situation is already very critical. My son-in-law, join the light camp and fight for the dining chair. If the light camp can win, we can also get rich rewards. Why not do it? While talking, Chen Tianyuan stroked his not-so-long beard.